This is proving to be a tricky issue for the states to solve. We know they're supposed to pick up the tab here, and there's this sort of banks, tenants, landlords trioca to try to sort out.
Tom, it's been a pretty sticky issue for the National Cabinet. It's been on the agenda for every hookup of the National Cabinet for the last fortnight or so, proving just how difficult it is to land this actual final agreement. Last Friday, the Prime Minister indicating they're looking at this mandatory code of conduct for the industry to come to the final details of over the weekend. It appears they haven't been able to do so, that they still can't agree on the final details in terms of the industry side of things here. We know that from the state's perspective, there is a level of frustration as to why it is taking this long. There had been a consideration that the states would be willing to waive land tax if those rent reductions are passed on to businesses in particular, but given we haven't seen the finalisation of this mandatory code of conduct, that may have to wait till the next meeting of National Cabinet to be finalised. The New South Wales Premier, though, putting on an optimistic face, it must be said this morning, trying to say they are working on these rent relief measures.
So these are very complex issues, but I have every confidence that we'll be able to support those affected in the best way we can. But please know that no jurisdiction in Australia is sitting on their hands. We're moving very quickly to make sure that we provide support to those parts of the community that are doing it especially tough.
Also on the agenda for today's National Cabinet meeting, the all-important modelling that underpins the coronavirus response. The government has committed that it will be releasing some of this after the meeting. Here was the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, on the need to keep these social distancing measures going because they're working so far.
I think that the official data shows that we are heading in the right direction. We can't take our foot off the brake, so to speak, in terms of slowing down the spread of the virus, but the trend is our friend. We just got to keep at it and hope that we will continue to be able to bring that curve down.
The trend is our friend. We'll hear that a bit more, Trudy. Meanwhile, the Industrial Relations Minister has struck a deal with the unions ahead of the Parliament's return tomorrow. This is over JobKeeper.
Tom, this is looking like a pretty fruitful relationship between the ACTU Secretary Sally McManus and the Industrial Relations Minister Christian Porter. Behind the scenes overnight, they have managed to come to an agreement about the IR changes needed to get this JobKeeper payment through the Parliament. The government is looking to override thousands of awards and EBAs to make it lawful to get these payments flowing to businesses. But they have now secured this safeguard, which would mean that the Fair Work Commission can arbitrate if there is a dispute that the employer isn't doing the right thing here. Here was the Finance Minister.
The principle is that we do want to ensure that we have the right balance. This is about getting the money into people's pockets, into the workers' pockets, in a way that doesn't put business in breach of industrial relations laws. And we do want to ensure that the right safeguards in there, that there's not going to be the opportunity to abuse the system. And we also got to remember that this is a temporary set of arrangements.
So, Tom, Labor largely cut out of these negotiations behind the scene. The Labor leader this morning, though, trying to brush that aside, saying it's not about who's in the room negotiating, it is about the final outcome, and they will get on board with these wage subsidy payments tomorrow when Parliament returns. They do have some concerns, but they're not going to stand in the way, Tom.